Well. If it isn't the consequences of what everybody who plays games knew was going to be happening when it comes to Wildlight Entertainment's latest game and only game, Highguard. And they have announced the layoffs. Welcome home. This is now, I believe, 16 days into launch. 17 maybe, depending on the time zone that you're counting when they posted it. But regardless, just barely over half of a month before massive studio restructuring and massive layoffs. Oof. Wildlight Entertainment on X. Today, we made an incredibly difficult decision to part ways with a number of our team members while keeping a core group of developers to continue innovating on and supporting the game. Before I even keep going, that doesn't necessarily instill me with a bunch of confidence that this game is going to have anything worthwhile in the future. You literally are telling the people that are supporting your game right now, the very few, just barely over 3,000 people half the time, that you will not have the same amount of people working on this game moving forward. So if that's the case, why would they want to invest more money and time into something that is clearly not going to be around for much longer? That is a self-fulfilling prophecy of destruction. Who here is going to go to a free-to-play game that just announced massive layoffs and say, sure, let me empty my wallet on this game. I'm sure it will be around a lot longer. We're proud of the team, talent, and the product we've created together. Congratulations. Where did it get you? We're also grateful for players who gave the game a shot and those who continue to be part of our community. Now, in case you were living under a rock, Highguard launched on SteamDB to a near 100,000 concurrent player count. And I said at the time, I was floored. I thought it was going to get like somewhere between maybe 30, 40, 45, maybe 50 on like the perfect situation. It nearly doubled my highest expectations. I was blown away. And then just as fast as I was blown away for how well it was doing, was I blown away with how fast it fell. Nearly 97% of the player base left within the first 2 days of playing the game, never to return again. Yikes. I said, breaking industry layoffs. According to a now former level designer at Wildlight, the studio behind Highguard, quote, unfortunately, along with most of the team at Wildlight, I was laid off today. Highguard has struggled to maintain a concurrent player count above 3,000 players, a paltry amount for a free-to-play game. This result was inevitable. And this is Alex Granner on LinkedIn. Unfortunately, along with most of the team at Wildlight, I was laid off today. This one really stings, as there was a lot of unreleased content I was really looking forward to that I and others designed for Highguard. So this right here, by the way, a little peek behind the curtain, tells you that they're already done with a shitload of the content. And instead of just releasing it and launching it and being available, they're like, we need to hold it back for the seasons and the season pass to make sure people buy this and pay money for it. So by doing that, they actually shot themselves in the proverbial foot. However, I'm excited for my next adventure. If your team or anyone you know needs an experienced level designer, hit me up. Check out my portfolio here to see what I've done the last 7 years as a level designer in the AAA space. Cheers. And I continued because there's a lot more. This is the source on LinkedIn from him, but I said, Wildlight's website has not been updated to reflect. I'm curious to see just how hard they were hit. I said just 1 month ago on LinkedIn, and this I said 1 month ago because it says 1 month, but it was actually like 16 days ago. Wildlight was celebrating the launch. Many of these AAA styled studios are leering in real time. Live service games are feast or famine. Concord 2.0 is officially here. This is the double-edged sword when it comes to game development, and why I keep just banging my head against a wall when I hear Sony say, we're going to invest fully into live service games, and that's the future of gaming. Hey, it might be, but not everyone can be an astronaut. Not every studio can make that special live service game that everyone wants to be a part of. Everyone sees one of them, like Fortnite or Roblox, and thinks, yeah, I can do that and make infinite money. And then what do they end up doing? Losing infinite money in the process of trying to make even more. I said, how fast it comes crashing down. Wildlight, allow us to reintroduce ourselves. We're Wildlight Entertainment, the developers of Highguard, launching on January 26, 2026. Again, I don't know how many, has not been confirmed yet, how many people have been let go. But when they say a large amount of developers have been let go today, I would imagine the skeleton crew would be somewhere between 10 to 15, maybe 25 people left for a 100+ person studio. I said, so about that Concord or Highguard roadmap, they're in episode 1 right now, February. Episode 2, part 1 is out. Part 2 supposedly coming out soon. And then April, May, June, July, August, all the way to the end of the year. And how much of this stuff is already complete, by the way, and just waiting to release to try to keep people hooked on and connected? Yikes. When you put the cart before the horse and think you have this big plan and expect everything and it all falls through, you're forgetting the main point of focusing on making the game as good as you possibly can from Jump Street. And then as time goes on, if there's little tweaks and things you can add to make it special or new or keep it fresh, then you do that. But this season content, this ain't it. And I said more statements. This is Alex Frostwolf, which there's Alex Highguard. There's the team, or at least what was the team. There you go. What once was is no longer. Destin on X, the concept outsource manager at Wildlight, also posted that he's now open to work. The previous posting about the team on Highguard being laid off was reposted by project manager, executive assistant to project manager, lead tech artist, audio director, VFX director. This doesn't count the level designer and other people as well that I've seen. Hi, everyone. Yes, it's that time again. Welcome to the game industry, by the way, when they're like, yep, I've been laid off. Time to pick up the merry-go-round and get hired on in another studio somewhere else, hopefully, and start all over again. Which, if you're a good, talented developer, I'm hopeful that you're able to find your rightful home and landing spot and be successful at the studio that you deserve to be at. But by and large, these wokies invading the industry, thinking that they love gaming just because they fell into it and just kept doing it, this is not for them. And I'd like to think a lot of people that are facing the layoffs right now are taking a long look in the mirror wondering, is this the industry I really want to be in? Do I want to keep doing this every couple of months? Sometimes uprooting my entire family and moving, if I have one, to wherever the company is, and hopefully finding a long-term stay there. If you have any opportunity or want to catch up, send me a message, open to work, looking for senior manager, management lead, and concept artist roles. In Austin, previously worked at Wildlight, Hi-Res, and Firewalk Studios, which, by the way, after doing more research, the Firewalk Studios keeps appearing. I've seen now 4 or 5 people, and that's just what I've seen personally from researching individuals. I'm sure it's more than that, that worked at Firewalk Studios, which is the studio behind Concord. And if you're starting to sense a pattern with these people, you got to ask yourself, hey, is it the game or is it you? Because I don't know if I necessarily believe in coincidences. Stutter Greg, looks like I was off by about 2 weeks. I think Highguard tried to be something for everyone while ultimately being nothing for nobody. Quote tweeting himself, I just played 90 minutes of Highguard, and this is on January 26th. I'm even more convinced the only reason Jeff is promoting that game is because he's getting a percentage of the revenue. It's the most bland, generic game with a gun I've ever played, and it will be dead in a week. Not the only one that was saying it, by the way. There were a lot of people that were on that bus. Pirate Nation. But Highguard devs said the player count was irrelevant. Yeah, Jeff. What do you think about that? It doesn't matter. Highguard boss comments on the game's player count, which, as we covered at the time, was premium grade cope. It was cope to the extreme. And people trying to say, oh, you're just being negative just to be negative and hate monger and get clicks and attention. You know what? Maybe the quote unquote hate that you're saying we always do is just us being honest because it's the reality and you just don't like facing the truth. Maybe that's what it is. Pirate Nation saying, breaking, Wildlight Entertainment creators of Highguard had seemingly laid off most of its staff after the game failed to retain its player base. Jay Viper, to all the people who tried to tell me that I was reaching, making things up, didn't know how many people were playing on console, lol, I was right again. Wildlight faced mass layoffs. She's dead, Jim. And I really wanted to highlight this because I remember when I covered this when Jay first posted it on February 2nd, he was so spot on, it wasn't even funny. This was a fantastic breakdown of the situation. And this opened my eyes and a lot of other people's eyes to the reality of Highguard is not going to be around for much longer. Talking about the paying its employees, which I covered this in a previous video. I'm not going to go through it all right now. But basically the breakdown was that on a low estimate, they were paying $480,000 in salaries a month. I think it was closer to $1 million or more in salaries a month, which would be $12 million annually. The game was getting 3,000 people playing it on a free-to-play console. You're not going to be making $12 million off of 3,000 people playing a game for free. Like, sorry, the math doesn't math. You can call me a hater, call me a grifter, call me whatever your name you want. The math doesn't math. It's reality. No, here, Highguard's dev teams got laid off. Horizon Hunters Gathering got more dislikes than likes. Relooted released DOA. Ubisoft is in flames with strikes and cutbacks. Seriously, Western devs, stop. Just stop. This is not working. Go back to traditional gaming. How many more flops, layoffs, and how much more money do you want to lose to push this modern gaming shit? I do wonder if this is cannonballing to a game crash with outside of Nintendo, who seems to be very frugal with how they're spending their money in game development, especially with Pokemon. But between Microsoft and Sony and these individual AAA studios that are popping up out of nowhere all the time and how much money they're blowing, is that leading to a crash ultimately? Like, are we going to look back 30 years from now being like, remember like the mid 2020s and into the 2030s when the game industry just kind of died for a little bit because they were just spending money like a drunken sailor on stupid shit that nobody was buying? I have a feeling we will look back to this time period and say that while we're all playing the AI games that were made for pennies on the dollar at that point too. Kyle, Paul Tassi chimes in with a, hey, yo, it really was Concord 2, failing to realize why gamers him hates call anything a Concord. And when that DEI, fat, flat, dyed hair, safe, horny, sensitivity slop reality sets in, it'll be too late. Inferior to AI piss-coded games journal. This is Paul Tassi quote tweeting Shinobi, which ironically, both of these people have me blocked. Shinobi, hardcore wokey as well. Highguard developer Wildlight has seemingly laid off most of its staff. Paul Tassi quote tweets, Jesus, it really was Concord 2. Welcome to the party, Paul. For first day, like you did not see what everybody was telling you. And instead of listening and having a conversation and saying you're wrong and understanding other people, you block people. We're here just telling it like it is, and you're telling it like you wish it was. Those are two very different things. I'm being literal, not trying to be insensitive, but this is just wild. What are the expectations for games like these where you have to kill them and disband a studio within 2 weeks of launch? Again, the price you pay for live service games. It's a massive double-edged sword risk reward that if it hits, it will be the biggest payoff you would ever see in your wildest dreams. It is the jackpot of all jackpots. But how many times you got to pull that lever to hit the jackpot? And just a quick reminder, because I like to toot my own horn every once in a while. This was 6 days ago. Maximum cope, Highguard crashes below 2,800 players. Just 20 seconds. Just listen to what I said about Highguard 6 days ago. What do you want people to do? Not look at this? This is the telltale sign of if the game is going to be successful or fail. The game has failed. At this point, I'm calling it. It's official. It's failed. The studio will be dissolved. Everyone will be fired. It might not happen tomorrow. Might not happen next week. It did happen next week. I was really being generous when I said might not happen next week. I should have said will happen next week. But it's coming. And the people working at Firelight, I like how I call it Firelight, like a mix between Firewalk Studios and Wildlight. Firelight, Freudian slip. I hope they understand that and that they're not surprised by it when it happens. And this is why they hate me, by the way. When I tell them, hey, just a heads up, I'm a prognosticator and I'm telling you, you will lose your job in the coming weeks. Don't get mad at me. Prepare. This is what's happening. I am not your enemy. I'm just telling it like it is. Anyone that's trying to call me out on this right now, I want you to remember this moment and say, man, Smash was right. A week after the game, he was saying the studio is going to shut down. You just wait. Remember this moment. There you go. What 6 days ago I said that. 6 days. And of course, we got the ultimate dichotomy. Paris. I'm going to say it again. Root for games to succeed. Yes, they need to be good. And yes, you should criticize when it's valid. But we're reaching a point where if a game isn't a runaway hit on day one, layoffs are happening. Studios are closing, and these publishers are only investing into projects that are, quote, safe. The best games in 2025 were mostly independent studios doing something new or unique, but sadly, that will be the exception as we're going to see more remakes and sequels moving forward, and that's a damn shame. Again, I feel like Paris is conflating live service games and how much it costs to create and keep those running compared to just a traditional gaming experience. They're two very different ball games. But to say that you should just blindly cheer on every single game, I've had this conversation infinite times on this channel before. That is the dumbest approach you could possibly take. Like the ignorance is bliss approach is exactly how you get yourself into an industry that destroys itself by consuming itself down the road. Because nobody was adding guardrails or barriers and it goes completely off the rails. Everyone just cheers on with toxic positivity the entire time until everyone loses their jobs because they're making things that nobody wants to buy. So I strongly disagree with Paris's take here. In fact, I have a hard time even trying to understand where he's even coming from. But he's welcome to say it. To which I said, I believe the scientific/medical term for this state of mind is delusion. Which just being honest about my take on what he says, right? And he actually replied, Jeff, we're both in San Diego. Let's meet up and have a face-to-face friendly conversation. We're grown men so the online insults are silly. Plus, I got some questions, so let's talk in person. Shoot me a DM and we can find a day, time, and location to converse. I'm not opposed to grabbing a beer with Paris. I'm really not. But I don't have any issues with him, but I'm not going to lie and pretend that I go along with what he says. When I strongly disagree with his take, I think he might be the nicest person in the world. I personally think that's a retarded take. That doesn't mean he's retarded. I just think that's a retarded take. I've had retarded takes in the past too. It happens. We all have them. And the yin to the yang, and I gotta imagine that Kata saw his post because it starts off exactly the same. I'm gonna say it again. Don't just blindly root for games to succeed. The polar opposite. If the product doesn't look appealing to you, or a developer or voice actor/actress says something dumb, you're in the right to be skeptical or completely not want to support said game. No one is owed shit. This is the current concurrent player count of Highguard on SteamDB. This is 8:51 p.m. Pacific time on a Wednesday night. Just over 2 weeks after launch, a free-to-play game cannot crack 3,000 players at night. That is so bad. It's almost unthinkable. It really is. Atreus, the chutneying is upon us. Layoffs already happening at Wildlight Studios after Highguard disaster.
The chuds are coming. The chuddeting is here. They are already committing layoffs over at Wildlight Studios, man. Alex Grainer, a level developer at Wildlight, says, unfortunately, along with most of the team at Wildlight, I was laid off today. The chuddening is upon us. And I don't want to hear shit about, oh, you're celebrating people losing their jobs. Nobody gives a fuck about a bunch of self-righteous assholes in the AC all day making images move on the screen using the controller. Go fuck yourself. There's real people out here risking their lives out in the elements to make sure that your ass has lights on every day. And you want to cry to me about some fucking video game developers?
Preach. Holy shit, preach.
Fuck out of here. This is what happens when you have an industry full of people that danced on the graves of gamers' wallets for the last 5+ years. It's like every time we tell y'all something we want, y'all give us the opposite. Every time we tell y'all we don't want something, you give it to us emphatically. These are the consequences. The chuds are coming.
Geralt of Gunia. And that's a wrap for Concord 2, aka Highguard. Next up is Concord 3, aka Marathon. This is what happens. You can see this from a mile away. I don't see people rooting for downfalls of these games. I really don't. I just see people being real about it, saying, what is this? Why should I care about it? Maybe, again, there's always that slice of pie that maybe you'll be surprised that it blows you away with something really special and unique. But more often than not, it's just another game that's trying to get your eyeballs away from the games that you already enjoy. And more often than not, too, they are injecting some sort of propaganda as well and think that they're being insidious about it and sneaky. It's like, no, we see right through your bullshit. We don't want anything to do with it. And instead of hating your customer, maybe try this wild idea of conversing, talking, opening up and wondering what you can do better to make sure your game aligns with what the player base actually cares about. And then, and only then, can a bridge actually be built. But yes, Concord 2 is in the books. Almost. I'll leave that there.